My name, it's Enki. I was born with the soul of enlightenment, which drove me to ceaselessly seek new knowledge and discover secrets beyond the reach of the common. The fact that my twin sister and I came from a lineage with generational ties to the occult cemented our connection to the enlightened soul. My innate desire for knowledge became even more evident at an early age. Since I was a child, I always wanted to know everything when I was selected to become a dark priest. Of all the people I could despise the most, it was my sister. That bitch was the most despicable woman I've ever met. She loved to torture me. She was our father's pet. She loved to recreate the history of all Myrrh with me. She tortured me, threw things at me, whipped me, and among many other things she did to me, my stupid father never did anything to help or protect me. In his eyes, my sister was the perfect girl. Following the customs of the occult ceremonies, I was forced into a mortal confrontation with my own sister, brandishing ceremonial knives in a fight to the death. My friar build proved to be my downfall, as my sister quickly gained the upper hand and held a sword to my throat, ready for the finishing blow. However, she chose to spare my life and lower the weapon to further humiliate me. She knew the punishment that would follow my defeat. She only laughed at me, while the supervising high priests watched with perverse satisfaction at my defeat and the thought of my punishment. The priests threw me into a disgusting well, a very deep well where it was almost impossible to escape. As time passed while I was dying of hunger and thirst, my sister made most of the town threw shit and urine on me to humiliate me even more. They shit and pissed on my head, while that bitch mocked me from outside the well. I had never felt so humiliated. A short time later, I managed to learn the language of the insects. I communicated with them. They helped me survive. They brought me some food and water. They named me their king. And as king, I ordered them to get me out of the well. The insects helped me out of the well. And I wanted revenge against these disgusting people. With my magic, I burned down the entire damn town. I enjoyed all the screams. I enjoyed all the burning wood. And I enjoyed the delicious screams of the townspeople. Then I went for my father, and let's just say, I made him suffer with everything I had. I made him regret all the years of favoritism toward my sister. As for my sister, I cut off her fucking head and kept her alive thanks to a spell called necromancy. This spell made the soul of the body return to its body for a period of time. I was amused. You have a fucking clue? disgusting head tasted my foot as the final blow. My pilgrimage to become a dark priest led me on a solitary quest of discovery, traversing the Western continent to study the occult arts, various deities, blood magic, and a multitude of sciences. My impressive accomplishments were recognized by the foremost scholars of the time, and I was granted access to the prestigious and great libraries of Rondon, famed for their vast collection of historical and scientific knowledge. During my time in Rondon, I immersed myself in my studies and acquired a vast amount of knowledge. However, I grew dissatisfied and frustrated as I was unable to achieve any kind of breakthrough. Eventually, I came to the conclusion that I had reached my mortal limits and volunteered as a religious sacrifice for all myrrh, unwilling to live an empty life any longer. As I lay on the cross, crucified by my foolish fellow dark priests, I received a vision from Nilvan, a vision about a prophesied man destined to usher in a new age of greatness for humanity. It seemed like complete nonsense to me, one of the biggest stupidities I'd ever heard. All, or at least most, of the gods said the same thing, and always ended up doing the opposite, destroying the world more and more. It seemed outrageous to me that an idiot prophesied by a prophecy made by idiots was the one who would bring peace to Earth. And instead, I, who worked my ass off to acquire all my knowledge, was totally ignored. That someone would be gifted with divinity, and instead I would just be a disgusting mortal, equal to the disgusting race with which I was created. I would definitely be a better god. Frustrated and unwilling to let another bask in the glory of the gods, I ordered the priests to free me, so I could embark on a quest to discover more about this prophesied figure. Eventually I learned that this man, Le Garde, was being held captive in the dungeons of fear and hunger. I will go in there and become a new god, and I will either bring peace to this foul world, or I will send him to the fucking city of sulfur. flesh marriage consisted of two individuals joining through intercourse, and their bodies fused, forming a much stronger individual. The ritual can go wrong in many ways, one of which was that one of the participants did not know they were doing the ritual or did not support the goddess Sylvian, since this ritual was the original concept of love of the ancient goddess Sylvian. No more than 3 people could come together in this ritual, or it could result in an abominable marriage, and it could just be a disgusting, filthy meat mess.
English. After creating humanity, the ancient gods didn't understand why humanity wasn't improving. They didn't understand how it was possible that even after trying to exert their influence from far away from Earth, it wasn't working on humans. So they decided to take a more direct approach and try to guide them more directly. The ancient gods created a beautiful city called Mahari, a city almost entirely made of solid gold, a divine city that only very few could access, especially because this city appeared and disappeared in a different place every so often. But this city had something special. Besides being very beautiful, there was something that granted great power and influence to its user. Hidden in this city was a powerful throne called the Golden Throne. This throne was created so that any individual who sat on it would receive incredible power, the power of a god, great power to rule. These beings were called the new gods. But the power received from this throne was infinitely inferior to the power of the ancient gods. But achieving this would not be easy. The ancient gods created a cube called the Cube of the Depths. This cube was the key and the guide to reach the city of the gods. This cube guided you in some way to get to the city. It was never known how the individual who had the cube automatically knew where the city of the gods was. It is as if the cube told the user the location of Mahare. Every time someone managed to reach the city of the gods and sit on the golden throne, the cube disappeared and was lost somewhere in the world. This was a kind of test to become a new god, a long search for the cube, and a long search for the city of the gods. The old gods, seeing that even after making humans could ascend to divinity and become new gods did not change or advance or improve, the new gods only caused destruction and violent conquests for power. The new gods did not last long, honestly. Unlike the old gods, the power of the new gods was extremely limited and temporary. The new gods depended on the prayers and followers they had so they could retain their power. With the passage of time, the followers of the new god will disappear, and the power of the new god will diminish to the point that they will only be little more than humans. It was never known why they disappeared after losing their power. There are rumors that they take refuge in the city of the gods. The ancient gods had grown tired of humanity and its mediocrity, its disgusting greed, its disloyalty, and its disgusting ego, and they decided to abandon humanity except for one, the goddess of love, Sylvian. She had convinced the other ancient gods to make one last attempt to redeem humanity. To that end, they created a perfect human, a human created with love and full of kindness, a human who would guide humanity to greatness and perfection with his teachings. This human was a gift from the ancient gods to humanity. He was the one chosen by the gods to guide humans. This individual was named Almer. Raised by a virgin mother, Almer was of humble origins. He began to become popular and rise to prominence thanks to his teachings. He was gathering his 12 apostles to possibly establish a new world order. Corrupt kings and sultans from all the eastern sanctuaries began to notice their popularity among the masses and threaten their disgusting way of life. People began to question the teachings of the kings and sultans and notice their inconsistencies as Almer's ideal world united people under different religions and gods. They felt threatened by their power. Almer was brought before them, tried, humiliated, and tortured by them. They humiliated him, spat on him, and whipped him. The guards whipped him a total of 30 times until his skin was almost impossible to identify from the flesh and blood oozing from his body. He was forced to carry a huge cross, which would be used to crucify him. This cross broke his back as he carried it, and he was only whipped more times until he stood up. Allmare's death was the final straw for the old gods. How dare these disgusting, filthy scum destroy, spit on, and humiliate the gift they had been given? The old gods came to Earth to cause great harm to humans as a result of Allmare's murder. They wanted to see their disgusting faces when they died. From that day on, they abandoned humanity to its fate. of Mahabharata. They remain there to this day. While he was dead in the afterlife, he met the old gods. The goddess Sylvian apologized to Almer for making him part of a race as disgusting, selfish, repugnant, insatiable, and repulsive as the human race. The old gods decided to ascend Almer to become a god, but the only difference was that this type of ancestry was different from that of the new gods. They called this ancestry Ascended God. A god almost as powerful as the old gods. A god who would not lose his power regardless of whether he had followers or not. Regardless of whether people sent him prayers or not, it wouldn't matter. His power would always remain the same. But before ascending, Almer asked his mother Sylvian to please remove the immense hatred he had towards humanity for murdering him, because he didn't want to save humanity just out of hatred and revenge, but out of the sense of duty and purity he originally had to purify humans. Sylvian granted it and separated Almer's hatred, creating an evil part of him, a representation of good and evil. This being was known as the god of sulfur. Almer finally returned from the dead, revived and returned to his apostles, who mourned his death. He returned and was completely changed, both physically and mentally. His most noticeable change was mainly the disappearance of his hair, and he gathered them together to carry out his plan to save humanity from the cruelty and tyranny of kings and sultans. He went through the world with ease. With his power as an ascended god, it didn't take him long to find the kings and sultans. With his new strength as an ascended god, he killed them all so that they would finally stop contaminating the world. He imposed a new world order and a new era, himself being the main center of worship and establishing principles that are still followed and observed by many others to this day. This new world order would eventually become the old world order, which would ultimately be replaced by the fellowship of the new gods in 999. By that time, Almer had disappeared, either because he had left earlier and ascended to take his place as an ascended god. It is also worth noting that by the time of the fellowship, the old gods had abandoned humanity. The kingdoms of the world were slowly disintegrating, and the great values humanity yearned for were replaced by desecrated principles and practices. Almer created his own kingdom in a dimension, a beautiful city made entirely of silver. He created this kingdom so that all the pure and good souls of the beings of the universe could rest eternally. Only souls of pure and good beings would go, who in life had had an honest, decent, clean and fair life, a place created for beings of goodness, or who at least tried to be. This kingdom beyond the dimensions would be known as the City of Silver, or some simply called it Heaven. On the other hand, the god of sulfur also created his own kingdom in his own dimension, a place completely different from the Silver City, a city of punishment for the souls that went there. A place of punishment and eternal torment for the souls of those who have had a miserable life, a life full of filth, where people who harmed others in life were punished for all eternity here. It is worth mentioning that 86% of humans go to this place, a place where there is no way out, where there is nothing but torture, forced labor, and receiving nothing but hunger and misery in return. The only ancient god who remained on earth was the god of the depths, since his nature as this god was to be in the place where the most repulsive, low, and disgusting creatures lived, the planet Earth. With his power, he decided that Mahare, the city of the gods, would no longer be a place where you simply had to arrive, but a place where it would be almost impossible to enter to prevent any other human from ascending to become a new god. The cube, following its cycle, was lost somewhere in the world where it would be waiting to be found by some individual to ascend to become a new god. The god of depths buried himself at the bottom of the sand and built enormous cursed dungeons that he named. The dungeons of fear and hunger above it, not only to punish humanity and make any human trash who dared to enter suffer, and the cursed humans who dared to enter would be cursed and deformed by the cursed power of the dungeons. Also, one of the reasons is because the only way to access the city of the gods was through these dungeons with the power of the cube of the depths. The dungeons are only the entrance to the dimension of the city of the gods. Here you had to reach a specific place, put the cube of the depths in an artifact, and it would take you to the dimension of the city of the gods. A new god named Nash Ra was the last new god to exist after the creation of the dungeons. He had killed all the previous new gods. Taking advantage of the fact that he was a newly ascended god, he took advantage and killed the other new gods. He created a cult called the Yellow Wizards, leading the world into another of its usual eras of destruction and disaster. This caused 5 individuals to find the Cube of the Deep and decide to venture into the dungeons with the intention of finding the city of the gods, sit on the golden throne, and become new gods. It was never known how they achieved this, but these gods were. Francois. He became a selfish deity, despised by his companions who accompanied him. He hoped to unify the lands through war. He built traps around the castle where the golden throne was located, with the intention of preventing anyone from ascending again. He became Francois, the dominant Nilvan, a woman who believed in the stupidity of humanity's potential. She believed humans could achieve with perseverance and effort. She only manifested herself through dreams and preferred to avoid any contact. She became Nilvan the Infinite. Valdir. He became the new god of enlightenment. He was obsessed with the creation of artificial life. He had wasted his power and time in libraries on this topic without much success. He believed it was the key to true divinity. He believed the creation of life bridged the gap between the new and old gods. Chambara, a poet with extreme beliefs when in a man, walking among men as a mere mortal. He believed that all suffering and torture was beautiful and embraced the belief that art should be forged from pain and suffering. He became known as the Tormented One. And finally, Nostramus. Although he was part of the community of the 4 current new gods, He rejected the promotion because he saw the greater plan of the new God's nature. He understood that no matter if someone ascends to be a new God, it won't change the scheme of things, and humans will never change no matter who ascends to God. From that day on, he disappeared and became known as the Forgotten One. The cube of the deep continued its cycle and disappeared somewhere in the world, waiting to be found by some individual. The four new gods, now powerful enough, went to hunt Nashra down so they could finally get rid of him. They decapitated him and made him disappear into the dungeons of fear and hunger. Currently, the whereabouts of these new gods are unknown. It is said that they are also in the dungeons. Before I finish, I'll explain the difference between these gods. The old gods are the most powerful entities in the universe. Nothing will ever be more powerful than them. Their power is completely infinite and unlimited. The old gods will never die, and they are the most powerful entities in all of existence. They have their power tied to nothing and no one. Not mortals, not prayers, not followers, not anything. Their power will always come from them, and their power will never end. They are the creators of all life in the universe. The ascended gods are beings similar to the old gods, but this is due to ascension. These gods are almost as powerful as the old gods. They are mortals who possessed divine ancestry and underwent some ascension process that made them assume the mantle of an even older god or be fathered by one. The clear example is Al-Mer being fathered by Sylvian on a virgin mother. Like the old gods, their power is unlimited and they do not depend on mortals or anyone to obtain it, nor do they ever die like the old gods. The new gods, unlike the old ones, the new gods began their existence as simple mortals before ascending. These gods have to sit on the golden throne in order to ascend. Their power will always depend on the prayers and followers they have. The power they have will not come from them, but from the people who follow them. They are infinitely inferior to the old gods or the ascended gods, and their power, although strong, is extremely limited and inferior compared to them. With the ancient or ascended gods, their reign will eventually end one day, and they will be forgotten. Unlike the other gods, they can die and be killed by other gods, even by mortals. Generally speaking, they are just humans with limited power.